Wiggins up there. I think that's how they do it, and they bring back Schroeder, and they just run it back with those two as their league guards, and they see what happens going into next year, and if CP has to sit for defensive possessions, whatever, and they figure it out, because Schroeder actually really, really works for LA, and I think he's just someone they'd never want to give the ball to. They never want to pay. They never want to bring back, but it's like Schroeder just plays well, and he just blends with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and he's just a great defender. He had a great postseason. I think they should bring him back and make him a priority this offseason, but we'll see what happens. What do you think happens? Do you want them to stay small there? Do you think there's a party that's like, what if LeBron, we just got off this and we really blew it up? Is there a party that's like, maybe we do bring in Kyrie. We find a way to get Kyrie and we run it out last dance style with LeBron, Kyrie, and Anthony Davis, and then LeBron retires after next year. Like, where is your head at with all this, and what do you think happens?
I mean, part of me was so happy to see just a winning Lakers team, like a team that looked like, wow, we have a good chance of winning this game after like 2021 where we were really good and then injuries happened, then 2022, which was just the season from hell, right? Like last year felt like, wow, especially after the trade deadline, like I like this group. And part of me just wants to take this group and run it back. Everybody. Like, let's see if, Malik Beasley finds a rhythm. Let's see what happens with Mo Bamba. I like him as a
So you want to pay everybody, like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, whatever it takes.
Part of me wants to.
Okay.
Right now, the only two I know I want to bring back for sure, if I was running the Lakers front office, is Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, right? Like, those are givens to me. They're young.
Rui's a given.
Yes. I mean, Rui thrived in the postseason. He could play on the court with LeBron and AD, in these big lineups. Like, he did a decent job. Like, yeah, mind you, they had him guarding Nikola Jokic. Like, come on now. But, like, aside from that, like, yeah, I was very happy with the Rui Hachimura played.
Okay.
Also, Austin Reeves. Like, the dude showed poise.
Both Austin, I think, is the biggest priority.
Exactly. So I bring both those guys back. Like, that's what I say just straight out. Now, D'Angelo Russell, I'm partial to Russell. I was a Laker fan. Been a Laker fan for almost 20 years now. But, like, I was a Laker fan back when, D'Lo first got drafted. You had those lost years, right where Kobe was definitely declining and toward the end, and the Young Bucks and him and Julius Randle. And, you had, what is his name? Oh, my gosh. Larry Nance Jr., thank you. Like, all these guys, of course, like, that was the group. They weren't great, but they always had this weird knack of beating the Warriors, when the Warriors came to LA after, I'm sure, a long night out. Like, I remember D'Lo from back then, and he's been a bit of a journeyman, too. It's been Brooklyn, right? It's been Golden State. It's been Minnesota. But he seemed to have had a nice little rhythm the first couple of games with the Lakers, and then a bit here and there throughout the playoffs. But we saw him just get shut down in the conference finals, and that's kind of worrying. Especially given the money he's looking for. If it was like just a role player, bring him back too easy. But if he's looking for more like 30 million, like, mind you, you're not getting that. But also, like, maybe you get 25, 26. Maybe you get like then that 23, 26 range. That's still a little rich for my blood. And I would say a little rich for the Lakers' blood. So he's on the fence for me. Malik Beasley and Mo Bamba, probably your best way to trade those guys and get like maybe an impact player. I think Mo Bamba's salary, bring that and like the number 17th pick or something, and that might get you, I wouldn't be fond of this, but that might get you an Alex Caruso or something like that from Chicago, since they don't have draft picks, this year, and I think next year is like top 10 protected or something. Like, that might be enough. Either way, I think that you package Mo Bamba and Malik Beasley, maybe a second or something together to get matching salary and an upgrade for the Lakers. Like, I see that happening, but that's where I would go. You have your two guys that you bring back regardless. You have your one guy who's kind of on the fence, and then you have your other two that you're trading, right? As far as Kyrie, like, I wouldn't be against it, but I just don't see any way that happens, that you bring in Kyrie and keep all the guys you have. Or bring in Kyrie and keep the two main guys you have. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Is Russell back for you?
Possibly. It might be a marriage of convenience in that maybe, the contract that Russ wants, that D'Angelo wants isn't out there. So I can't say Russ. Russ is with the Clippers. I'm not messing around.
Well, not even really the Clippers anymore.
No, I think it's going to be, I think he's moving on too, just because he actually outperformed, the minimum contract, which I always knew he would. Like, he wasn't a minimum player. He just wasn't a good fit for the Lakers. But moving right along from that, I think that D'Angelo, I think that he might, I think it's a good chance he comes back to the Lakers. One, Lakers have interest in bringing him back. I mean, he was better than they've had a point guard over the last couple of years. Two, I don't think what D'Lo's looking for in the market is actually out there, think it's kind of a little bit of a pipe dream. So maybe it's like, hey, we came back to each other. It works out well. Basically, what they were always saying, give us a training camp and make it happen. And I do think there's some reason to believe that if you give D'Lo a training camp with these guys, he can blend in. He is a good shot maker. He's a very good three-point shooter. He can, put the team on the back for a couple of quarters, a couple of games here and there once in a while. It's not something you can always go to, but there's some upside there, right? 27, still in his prime, So I wouldn't be against it. Let me just say that. But I don't know if that's where they go, but I lean more that way. As far as Chris Paul, if he's available, I think he's a Laker, and if so, boom. I still would like him off the bench. I don't think Chris Paul's a starter like that anymore. I think we saw a little bit of Phoenix.
That works out well, right? I think that's the best case scenario. If you bring in Chris Paul, if he's waived and you sign Chris Paul to a team-friendly deal and you don't pay D'Angelo Russell, you sign and trade him. Maybe that's it. You just sign and trade Russell to the Suns, and Chris Paul is the one who goes to LA.
Oh, I would want more than just Chris Paul for that.
Would you?
You trade a 27-year-old for a 38-year-old. D'Angelo Russell had the better year last year across two different teams.
I wonder what his value is around the league.
Huh?
I wonder what his value is. Because Russell's the ultimate player who thinks he's a league guard still and doesn't know that he needs to be Cole Anthony.
Oh, yes. I would 100% agree with you. But, also, Chris Paul is a living legend who's playing like the artist formerly known as Chris Paul.
He's 38.
Yes, so I'm not trading a sign and trade of a guy in his prime, even as with the illusions of grandeur that he has, right?
Yeah.
D'Lo's still a very good player, even if he thinks he's an all-star and he's not. But I would still rather have that.
Would you rather have D'Lo than Chris Paul?
I would for the next year. I mean, what do you get?
Just for the next year?
Yeah, I would.
Interesting.
The upside for D'Angelo exists. I mean, Chris Paul's been battling injuries the entire time. I like Chris Paul in a series. I'm taking Chris Paul. I like Chris Paul in a game. I'm taking Chris Paul. I may even take Chris Paul for 20 games.
Yeah.
But over the course of a season, over the last 3 years we've seen Chris Paul, he wears down.
Yeah.
We've seen it. He battled injuries heavy last year. And it makes sense he's 38. Not everyone's going to age like LeBron. And mind you, LeBron looked mortal last year, right? No, if you paying Chris Paul just to sit fancy suits on the pine, while D'Lo is putting up, 21, 4, and 5, not great, but still 21, 4, and 5 more than you're getting from Chris Paul at this point. I don't know. I don't know. I think Chris Paul still has it in his bag to give you solid performances. I think that is him being the Chris Paul of even OKC are done. We're not getting Houston Chris Paul. And this might bite me in the butt. It might. I said pretty much the same thing when Chris Paul got traded to Oklahoma City. So maybe it will. And we've seen great years since then. But I think what I saw this year, it looked like the dude was juiced. It looked like he was done. Teams are going at him defensively now in ways they weren't before. Some of that's due to age. Some of that's hey, you can't stay with us, Offensively, he's not exploiting like he used to. He's definitely in his John Stockton mode, in my opinion. Late career John Stockton. Get you 9 points, 9 assists, couple of threes.
Plus 100 per 100 possessions. He was only plus 1.8, which was his lowest since his 2009-2010 year with the Hornets, where he was plus 0.3. Because the year before, for reference, he was 10.2. The Suns were 10.2 better per 100 possessions with Chris Paul on the floor than without him. And I mean, it's still positive last year, but to your point, where it's we're now in he's not going to be at plus 10.2 next year. That's not, those days are gone. But the shooting's still there when he wants to. He does enough where it's the offensive rating 112, defensive rating 112 when he was on the floor for Phoenix last year. He's still a net positive year over year, and I still think he's someone that he just helps. He knows where to be. He'd be comfortable with LeBron. He'd be comfortable with AD. He wouldn't have to play a bunch of minutes. You could stagger him and Dennis Schroeder. Dennis could take a lot of those regular season minutes. If Chris Paul's not healthy, you still have Dennis. Maybe you bring somebody else in. Maybe there is somebody else to help carry that a little bit. Maybe it's Caruso. You bring Caruso back too. Maybe that's the other option. But
it's possible.
I don't know. I think CP makes you better than D'Angelo Russell. Now, I don't know if he can stay healthy and if you want him to have that kind of load for the regular season, but
ideally, curious. I agree, but yeah.
We'll see. I'm very curious to see what happens with D'Lo and Chris Paul and everything else with the Lakers this offseason. 30 seconds. Do you think LeBron is retiring after this year no matter what?
No, he got to play with his son.
Do you think that's still a thing?
Yep. I think he said it. I think that the smokescreen was him. I think he was very mad, very emotional. He was very close to the finals, right? Like each game, yeah, he got swept, but they were pretty close games. You could kind of see it. I could really see it. Like, yeah, that was a long year, and I think the emotions overtook LeBron. He's like, wow, Carmelo also just retired. He's the only player left in the 2003 draft class. Like, it's something where it's like, dang, like, I'm old, Like, I definitely think he had a moment, but no, he said it way too much and too often for him to go back on that now. I could even see him take a year away and then come back and play with his son, but there's no way in the world he retires and doesn't play with Bronny after saying all this stuff about him wanting to play with Bronny. Like, now if I was, if I'm Bryce, then like, sheesh, I'm not playing with my dad. You know what I mean? Like I get that, but he said too much. I really think that was just, I never bought into that. And I won't until I see it say LeBron James retired.
I think you're right about him taking a lot of time to watch Bronny. Like, I think this year he's going to take some time. Like, he's going to be doing other stuff. Like, he is going to be missing time in the regular season to go watch Bronny. It helps that he's playing at USC, not Ohio State. But I think there's going to be times where LeBron's going to, I mean, we'll see what happens with this foot, if he's even ready to start next year. I have my doubts that LeBron will be playing opening night for the Lakers going into next year based on what he was dealing with. And he looked gassed come postseason this past year. Like, he ran out of gas, and I think he knows, like, he's going to have to take the regular season even not less seriously, but just be even more careful with his minutes, with his energy exertion. Like, I think we're going to see significantly less of LeBron next regular season. But I also think this is it. I don't think he's going to play with Bronny. I think he's just going to go watch Bronny after next year. I think he'll be courtside and watch him and do all that stuff. I don't think LeBron's going to make it. I don't think he can make it 2 more full years.
Wow.
I think this is it. I don't think LeBron wants to go out on a non-contender where he's not playing important. Like, he was not LeBron. Like, remember where he just fell when he was on that steal, the dunk against the Nuggets?
Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.
Where there were just little things. I mean, he was missing a lot of big shots. He just didn't look like the second best basketball player of all time anymore. Like, he's just at this point, which is, again, because he's still human and an amazing all-time player, but like, there is something different now with LeBron, and the LeBron of old is not coming back. I don't think. Even in spurts, you'll get a little bit, but like, I think we saw this postseason LeBron kind of inching closer and closer to that last stage of his basketball career, and he just doesn't strike me as someone who's gonna just play and grind through it when he's not the same dude, when he's gonna average like 16 and 5 on 34% 3-point shooting. Like, I don't think LeBron's going to go out that way. I don't think he wants to go out that way.
Yeah, I get you. I would agree. The only thing I'm holding out hope he wasn't healthy. And like, if he's healthy and he's doing that, then I'm right there in the boat.
But what if he's never healthy again? Like, to that extent, where
and
he's
that's
just
possible.
Like,
then it reminds me of another. I mean, arguably the greatest of all time, who did not look the greatest of all time when he was 38.
Yeah,
Michael Jordan. Right? Injuries happen. There's a book. It's kind of decent. It's called When Nothing
He turns
Else
39
Matters.
in December, by the way. He will be 39 in December.
There you go. Yep, December 25th or 27th, 23rd.
30th.
30th. Wow. Well, there you go. Way off. Anyway, like, if he's not getting healthy, if next year's another injury-riddled campaign, then it's like the Michael Jordan Wizard years, where Jordan had flashes, the 50-point games and the pinning the ball on the backboard block over Ron Mercer. Like, yeah, moments like that. Other times he was getting just straight up stuffed by Paul Pierce and Ron Artest before, Metta World Peace. Like, all of that. Like, he had games where he was horrific, right? Those shooting numbers are not kind to MJ back then. Like, yeah, at a certain point, you're playing against the best and you were 38, 39 and your body is showing that. Your knees are giving way. Your lower extremities are finally hitting you. I don't think anyone looks very good. Like, the fact LeBron's looked as good up to this point is great. Like, his 38 year, I still say is better than Michael Jordan's. Maybe Jordan's 39 is better. I don't know. But, like, I think at the end of the day, your age does come back to bite you, and maybe he's not healthy. And if so, and if he's not healthy next year, then yeah, I would be more inclined to agree with you. But for him to play the way he did, playing with a torn tendon in his foot, and being the age he is, and also being a high priority for the other team's defense still, at his age, you're not doubling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at 39. You know what I mean? Like, that's not happening. I love, you're not doing that to Kareem. I love him. You're not doing that to the mailman. Name other guys in their late 30s, late 30s. Like, they're not getting the treatment LeBron is getting while playing injured, while still putting up pretty decent production. I mean, for me, I was surprised he wasn't the leading scorer on the team most of the postseason. It was
he
AD
still
or
had a
Austin Reeves.
33% usage rate, which is bonkers at his age.
It's insane, and the fact that the Lakers needed that, like it's wild, but it is what it was, and that's wild. But yeah, until I see it, I can't. I gotta see him healthy or see more injuries keep popping up. I think now the injuries that normally would have hit him for like half a quarter are now holding him for like 8 to 12 games. That's the issue. But if he comes back fully healthy, I gotta roll with him.
His last year in Cleveland, he was 33 and played 82 games, 118, 109 offensive defensive rating, shot 37% from three. Really, really great year. In LA, 55 games, 67, 45, 56, 54 this past year in regular season. So I just wonder, like, how low could it really go next year? Where, like, could we get back in the 40s? What do the Lakers look like if LeBron is only playing 30 to 40 regular season games? Because they barely got into the postseason this year. That's that's what people forget, is like the Lakers barely made the postseason this year. This was not like they had a great story. They obviously run to the Western Conference Finals, but like they had to scrape and claw, and injuries around the league had to go their way. And this was something where if LeBron plays 30 to 40 games, if he misses a lot of time, and Anthony Davis does not have perfect health in Los Angeles for a significant portion of next season, this is not a playoff team. And then what are you looking at if you're LA? I think that is something else we have to consider here. And LeBron had the lowest offensive and defensive rating disparity since his rookie season this past year, 114, 113 with this Lakers group. His rookie year in Cleveland, he was 99 offensive rating, 104 defensive rating. Ever since then, it's never been this close on both sides. So you look at it, I don't know. I'm not saying LeBron's going to fall off a cliff next year in terms of just playing, but I think we're nearing the end, and it just sucks. Like, it's just age. He'll be 39 in December. I don't think he's playing a significant number of regular season games. I think, Corban, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Rip off the Band-Aid, friend.
I don't think they're a playoff team next year. I don't see how they can be.
How do you figure? Did you not?
They're going to overpay for Austin Reeves and Rui and everybody. I think
and those guys played well.
I don't.
Their numbers post like they played.
I'm not betting on a Rui full season. Austin Reeves, I think, will be fine. Chase, I don't think Rui's going to be great. I think
they made the okay. When you say they barely made the postseason, they had to win. They had to go like something like 33-12 or something to do it, which they did, and they won the play-in game, and they beat the Memphis Grizzlies, and they beat the Golden State Warriors.
If you make the play-in, you barely made the postseason. If you're a play-in team, you barely made the postseason. But then once you do and you beat the number 3 seed and the number 4 seed, like, I think you have some validity there. And even losing to the Nuggets, who are going to win the championship, all 4 games were very close. Like, yes, it was a sweep. Bring out the dust. No, what I'm saying is, like, they almost didn't have the opportunity because they came so close to missing the postseason.
They had a 3% chance of making the playoffs when they started 2-10 with the roster that they came into the season with, which was horrible. We know this. They went through that and injuries to AD, who was still playing like a monster. Yeah. And LeBron had moments too, and he was injured. Then they went to the trade deadline, made those moves. Those players were impactful, and from that moment on, the Lakers were legit. So if we're going to go by everything they were from the beginning of training camp 22, we knew that that team wasn't going to be the final product, and we also knew that team wasn't going to be great, and they weren't. Then they made the trade. So now I'm just saying, bring back the people who made you look very good in the second half of the season, and the play-in game, and the first round, and the second round, because that was legit.
Like, I'm very passionate about this. You can tell, 56 games last year.
Huh?
Anthony Davis played 56 games last year.
And also, let's be real. He played 56 games last year, and they were very thin for most of the games he was injured. Once post-trade deadline happened, I think if you had a Rui Hachimura, you have a Mo Bamba, you have a better front court like that, I think you're a little bit better. Jarrett Vanderbilt.
60 games of that?
Listen, I think you could cobble together if you had to.
Because, look, Anthony Davis played 40 games the year prior, 36 the year prior, and then 62 when he was 26. He's going to be 30 next year.
30 he's already 30. He's going to be 31 next year.
Yeah, he's 30, yeah.
But, like, again, in that 2020 season, he had JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Really good backup, solid bigs. 2021, I think you had, we didn't have JaVale. I think you had Andre Drummond and Marc Gasol. Still okay. 2022, you had dog crap. It was just dog crap, right? Going into 2023, you still had dog crap. We brought back Damian Jones. Gave him a player option to do nothing, right? Thomas Bryant, who would give you points and give up just as many. Now you give me a Jared Vanderbilt, a Rui Hachimura, if you want to say a Mo Bamba, that's still 3 solid players. That, yeah, you're not going to be an AD. There's not a replacement for AD out there like that. But those guys still stand better than what you had in 2022. Like this is straight up. Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones.
But you still need a healthy AD.
Well, I mean, you
still need LeBron
AD
to play
win.
more than 40 games.
But I think that with this roster that you have now, you have a better chance of surviving when LeBron and AD inevitably miss those games. Because before that, you didn't have a chance. You had to hope that you had a good rust game, which, actually, you kind of had a few of those. They just didn't win those games, right?
Yeah.
I think now you have a better chance because now you have more functional. This would be a middling 500 team without LeBron and AD. You're not saying the talent they have there is like a lottery team. Now, if they're without LeBron and AD all season, then yes, they are a lottery team. But if it's just for a couple games here and there, 15, 20, I like that talent, especially that's some cohesiveness. Yeah, I think they could be solid. I think they could hold down the fort. Let's say that. Now, if both those guys are injured, no. But that's come on now. That's obvious, right? If LeBron and AD are out for an extended period of time on any team, if they were out on the dream team for an extended period of time, that's gonna be a hurt.
But that's the reality. I think they're both gonna miss time.
I don't think they're going to miss. Okay, they both missed time this year, and they made it to the conference
I'm saying
finals.
Significantly. I don't think you're going to get...
I think
you're looking at 40 max, 40 to 45-ish max for LeBron, and I think max for AD is 50. And I just don't think you're going to... It's just such a thin margin of error in the Western Conference. The Thunder will be better next year. We'll see what happens with the Blazers this offseason. I don't think the Mavericks will be as bad as they just were. You look at the rest of the West, the Clippers aren't going anywhere, the Warriors aren't going anywhere, Timberwolves aren't going anywhere, the Pelicans, it just takes them being healthy to be a top 5 seed.
So same as the Lakers, healthy. Yeah. The Clippers,
healthy. Hold on. Are we comparing the level of concern health-wise?
Yes, we are. Because, yes, we are. We most definitely are. Look at Brandon Ingram's games. Zion Williamson has played how many games in 3 seasons?
Look.
That's a fun trivia thing. I want you to look at that for me.
Yeah,
since we're doing this.
It's
it's pretty darn bad. You can't count on Zion. You can't. You count on him not being available. That's what you count on.
Ingram only played 45 games.
I know. I'm telling you to look. I'm telling you.
It felt like more.
CJ McCollum was your healthiest guy. And that's saying a lot. Because CJ McCollum's not the bastion of health himself. So
I can't believe he only played 45 games last year.
I'm telling you, he had a toe injury that bothered him for most of the season. But that's New Orleans. Boom, if they're healthy, put them next to the Lakers. The Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, are you serious? Put them next to the Lakers. The Thunder, they're gonna get better, sure. The Blazers, I'm not giving them any credit. They were trying to contend this year and look what happened. I'm gonna wait to see what happens there, right? The Mavericks, I'm sorry, you traded away your best perimeter defender, one of your best offensive creators, another guy in Kyrie who may or may not either be staying in Dallas, going to Houston, going to Philadelphia, going to the Lakers, and your defense has been horrible, and you don't have ancillary offensive help alongside Luka Doncic, aside from Christian Wood, who your coach doesn't like. I'm putting Dallas on the bottom as well. I don't, they have question marks too. I don't see it. The teams that could be there have the same health questions the Lakers do to their top 2 guys. Memphis is probably the only team I'd be will be more or less where they are. And that's presuming John Morant's not suspended for 40 games, right? Denver will be right back where they were. We'll see what Golden State looks like, right? I'm a lot more dubious about the standings of the West than you are because a lot of them are question marks. You're right. In a perfect world, health, that's great. But right now, the only teams that I could see being more or less the same, if you don't believe last year was an aberration, then you look at the Kings, right? You look at the Grizzlies, you look at the Nuggets. We'll see what happens with the Suns. We'll see how they form around KD and Booker because guess what? We thought they were going to win the finals. We thought that were going to be a monster. Injuries. Big surprise. So they're there too, right? Clippers injuries, Warriors injuries, Lakers. Timberwolves? Huh? Pelicans, Thunder, Mavericks, Jazz, Trailblazers, Rockets, Spurs. Tell you one thing, Thunder may improve, and they're going to. Maybe they win the play-in game. I don't see them winning a first-round series just yet.